Oh, good morning. Yeah. So this is a famous topic, which in the discussion of 10th of Shvat, like I said before, the Rebbe's whole idea was that we are going to build this world a home for God. He spoke a lot about these two manners in the context of the Mishkan, particularly because the Mishkan was using a type of wood called Atzei Shittim, acacia wood. Shittim is also a word in Hebrew which refers and relates to a term called shoteh, which means what? Fool. A foolish person is called a shoteh, right? Not shoteh mitataf, drink. Shoteh mitatet, which is a fool, right? A nar. A foolish person is called shoteh. And the idea was that we're taking the shtut, we're taking the foolish behavior of this world and transforming it into godliness. First, by dominating it, telling him, you're not going to do what you want, you're going to do what Hashem wants, but at the same time, making from it Kedusha. How do you transform foolishness to Kedusha? So this was one of the first topics that the Rebbe spoke very strong, and you can imagine that became a big motto in the Rebbe's teachings. What is that foolishness? The Rebbe said, we act foolish. We act foolish too. To go into this world and declare that we are keeping on with Judaism and we are going to work, keep us on the street, those days in America for sure, or put up mitzvah tanks in the middle of Manhattan and so on, we are called Meshuga. Many people look at us as crazy. Among the Jewish people, forget about the Goyim. We are crazy. Okay, that's the whole idea. We are going to act crazy because the antidote to craziness in the side of evil is to be crazy in the world of happiness. And the Rebbe quoted a bunch of Talmudic stories of rabbi sages who would behave very crazily in a sense. At a wedding, there was a great rabbi, Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, one of the greatest Talmudic sages. He would dance in front of the groom and bride in a very foolish manner, to the point that people told him, Rabbi, it's very foolish. It's very foolish the way you behave. It's not nice. And when he died, and there was a pillar of fire came and kind of escorted him at his funeral, and they all say, that foolishness is going ahead of him, leading him to the world of to come. They realize what foolishness is, shtut. And the Rebbe brought at the first discourse a story of each one of the Rebbes who acted foolish. And the foolishness that he acted was in the context of showing love to another Jew. I'm not going to go over all the stories, but the first story, he said a story about the Alter Rebbe, Shneur Zalman, was once at Yom Kippur. Later years, he said the story in more detail. It was at Yom Kippur in the synagogue, and he realized there was a lady who just gave birth. I always thought, I guess, he saw her husband in the synagogue, and he realized that she was left with no one taking care of her at home. The point was, he took off his talit in the middle of Yom Kippur, and he walked by himself to the edge of the town, and he chopped wood, which is usually a prohibited activity at Yom Kippur, but there was no other wood around. And he turned on the fire, which is again another prohibition that you're not supposed to do on Yom Kippur. And he cooked a dish, a soup or something, for this newly mother, because she was in a very difficult state of illness or weakness from the fact that she gave birth. But the Rebbe said for the Alter Rebbe to leave his synagogue on Yom Kippur and to go chop wood, first of all, even if he realized that somebody needs help, he could have maybe turned to a husband. If there isn't a husband, he could have turned to his gabbai. And there's always going to be some macher in shul who would love to go and stop services. He's anyway not davening too much as it is, and go out and go into to some needy woman and help him with cooking. And maybe there's somebody who anyway cooks on Yom Kippur, so at least I didn't cook for a woman giving birth. The Alter Rebbe didn't have to be the one doing it. He was leading services. He was the Rebbe in the shul. And it wasn't Stamar Rabbi, it was the Alter Rebbe on Yom Kippur. And yet, he did it. What do we call this activity? Foolishness. Yes, it's in the context of halacha, but ultimately it's an act of foolishness. And that is an example how we are kind of fighting or challenging the foolishness with foolishness. He said other stories. He said a story that was, I think, the fourth Rebbe, who was usually known to be very precise with his time, very careful not to miss a minute. He was very much on the clock. And he traveled all the way from Lubavitch in Russia to Paris, taking a hotel room, walking out in the middle of the night, I guess, from his room, where there was a family playing cards and drinking wine. And he knew that family as a family of Hasidim. Apparently, he had inside information that they're going to be playing cards that week. They're spending on vacation in Paris. And he walked out of his room, and he went over to the young man, and he said, Ingreman, Yain Nesach, to drink wine, which is not kosher, causes your heart and mind to become kind of dull, dull, clouded. Come back home, he tells them. And he went back to his room, and he went back to Lubavitch. Whatever the story there was, the Rebbe says that family became back and became a very well-known Hasidic family. But to travel from Russia to Paris to stop a Jew from drinking wine at some hotel in Paris is also an act of foolishness. And that's what a Rebbe is, and that was the mission of Hasidus. And this is today Shvat, and this is what Moshe Rabbeinu is teaching the Jewish people in this Parsha. He says, we're going to take wood, bitter, and transfer bitter water into sweet. We're taking the world and changing it, not drowning it in goodness. We're going to let the world be transformed on its own to a state of goodness. The world is going to say we want to be better. And that is the mission that we live, the life that we live. L'chaim, l'chaim. No, what does the Tanya say, Rabbi Eslishevitz, on Tuesday? What can you share, Shvat, in your Tuesday class? Yeah.
Should we sing a negative verse?
Can sing a song, though. Ay la da da ya da 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 ya 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 da da I did it, did it, did it, did it, did it, bam, did it, did it, did it, what it, bam, da did it, my did it, I did it, hey, I did it, no, let's hear. Say l'chaim a little.
L'chaim. On Tuesday, Tanya class, l'chaim. We currently in our, I believe it's our third cycle going through the book. Is it the third? David.
Second, is it the second or the third?
Maybe it's the second.
I think it's the second.
The first cycle took us 7 years. So it must be the third, because we're already the 18th year. But we're currently learning.
It's becoming a little more familiar. Probably the third.
We're currently learning Epistle 12, the letters of the Alter Rebbe out of the Tanya. And there's a point here in the letters that connects to something which it connects to the Parsha. It also connects to what Rabbi Farkash was saying earlier. The mission statements that was mentioned earlier, the Rabbi said that in America, people want to hear, a mission statement. So he said that there are three loves. There's the love of Hashem, the love of the Torah, and the love of the fellow Jew. Avos Hashem, Avos Torah, Avos Yisrael. And the idea that was just mentioned about acting in a foolish way, foolish meaning that you're not acting in a rational, logical, calculated way, but going beyond that in a way that doesn't make sense, which I thought one of the examples of things that don't make sense that we can all relate to very well is the excitement for sports, especially if you're excited about the Seahawks. Some of us can relate, right? Being excited about the Seahawks. And if you ask somebody, so explain logically, why does it matter if the Seahawks win or lose? What's the, like, one throws the ball, if he catches it, he brings it to the outside, the other team brings it to the outside. That's why you're excited. Why are you excited? You can have more food to eat because of it. You can have nicer clothes, a better house.
If you bet correctly.
Why you're betting, that makes sense. You put a bet. But if you didn't put a bet, it doesn't really make sense. There's no logical explanation to be excited if the ball goes this way or that way, and how many times he throws the ball to the other one.
It definitely doesn't make any sense to me.
Even to those who understand the game, they know there's no consequence to me that's rational, that it should make sense. But I decided that I'm excited about it and hyped, and I'm a fanatic. In short, it's called a fan. I'm a fanatic about it. And I'm really excited. That's the most important thing in my life right now for the next week. And I'm focused on is what's going to happen and who's going to, for the next 2 weeks, and who's going to throw the ball which way and how he's going to catch it. And that's what's called shus de. It's the foolishness or the folly, worldly folly. Rabbi gave an example. Also, people have a routine that every day you have to have your cup of orange juice in the morning.
That was in the days of
1951. You have to have your cup of orange juice.
Starbucks coffee.
Right? Why do you have to have your cup of orange juice? Why not apple juice today? And another day you'll have milk. But there's certain things. Why? It doesn't matter why. This is what I have to do every day. So on the other side, there is the irrational behavior in a holy way. Not necessarily makes sense, but you go beyond what's just the rational makes sense, and you go beyond that. So in the Tanya, in the section that we're learning now, the Alter Rebbe says you want to draw down God's energy, a flow of godly energy into the world. Says there's the recipe to draw down the godly energy is that the davening and the learning and the giving of tzedakah shouldn't just be the normal expected way. And by the way, the davening and the learning and giving tzedakah, the Torah, Avodah, and Gemilas Chasadim, the same three loves. It's the same three. There's Torah, the love of Torah, the study of Torah. There's Avodah, which is davening, service of Hashem, and there's Gemilas Chasadim, which is tzedakah, giving acts of kindness. So that the davening could be just davening, and then there's davening and learning Torah. It's called ad mitzui hanefesh, until the soul is pressed, like you're pressing the olives until you get every last drop. You get the oil, and you press the grapes, and you get the juice. You press your soul, in your efforts and your Torah study, not just you casually. You can read and you can read casually. And then you can read that there's a test tomorrow, and you have to understand it really well. And if you pass the test, then you graduate. And you don't pass the test, you don't graduate, right? And then you study, to really push yourself as hard as you can in your study. There's davening that you can read the words and maybe even think about what the words mean, and even try to feel it. And then there's davening where you push yourself to the max in connecting to Hashem. And with giving tzedakah also, giving tzedakah in a rational way, you give a calculated halakhic tzedakah, you give your 10%, and if you're generous, you give your 20%. And then there's giving tzedakah in an irrational way where you give up your own piece of bread.
You leave for yourself 10%. You give 9.
Or you don't even think about yourself. You give without, somebody else needs. I'll figure it out. Let me give. So there's learning and there's davening and there's the love for Hashem, the love for Torah, and the love for your fellow, and doing these things in a way that's not just satisfying your obligation, satisfying the requirement, which is the normal way, but doing it in a way that is until the soul is, to the max, pressing yourself to the max, and that's how we can draw down God's energy and God's presence into the world, which is really what the Rebbe was talking about in bringing Mashiach and bringing God from the seventh heaven, from the sixth, from the level closest to us, and to make God's presence to be felt in the world. That the trigger that can accomplish that is when we, at our part, go beyond what makes sense and what's comfortable, what's normal. We push ourselves a little further. And the Rebbe was very, very confident in our generation. And he didn't say he's going to do it for us. He said he'll do it with us. And Rabbi expects and believes in each and every one of us that we can do it, and that our generation can make it happen, and that we will make it happen. And as the Rabbi said many times, that don't think about how's my small efforts going to change the whole world, but to think of the world as the Rambam says as a perfectly balanced scale, that anything can tip the scales, and when we do something, that can be the little act or thought or word that can make it happen, and this is something which, was mentioned 75 years ago today, is when the Rebbe said that it's going to happen, and we're the ones that are going to make it happen. 75 years is a long time, but we are still confident. We're still.
Abraham Avinu only started his mission at the age of 75.
Right. So
Hashem told him to leave Haran. Says the Chumash, he left Lech Lecha. Abraham ben 75 shana. Abraham was 75. He didn't even have Yitzchak as a child. Nothing started.
Just got started.
Baby.
But we want to make sure to finish it now at 75. That now 75 years since the Rebbe laid out this mission statement for our generation, and so he believed that we're going to make it happen. And when we look at what the world was in 1951 compared to what the world is now, we can see how we're definitely much closer to this vision of bringing the world to the time of Mashiach, so that today we can imagine it much more easily than we could have imagined it in 1951, and we should believe in ourselves that we can make it happen. And of course, pressing yourself and davening till you squeeze the soul, and then learning till you squeeze the soul in acts of kindness. Don't be scared with the extreme goals. It's every little bit of going out of our comfort zone and out of our calculated plans. For example, maybe when you left the house today, you said, okay, 7:30, all right, 8:30, I'm gonna go and go back to my routine. But if you go, say, you know what, I'll put away the watch. I'm not even gonna look at the time. I'll just go as long as it goes. It can be also getting out of the getting out of your calculated rational behavior and acting foolish. But you got a schedule to follow. Okay, so break the schedule. With a good start. If we break the schedule tonight and go a little bit past of what you were thinking. L'chaim.
Chaim Livracha. Chaim L'chaim. Very good. One of the songs that the Rebbe very much liked and sang it a lot throughout the years. From the Rebbe used to also teach songs, by the way. He used to teach songs, and on Simchas Torah morning, those who were up till 5 in the morning, he used to come down 5 o'clock in the morning and teach a song, and sometimes explain, many times explain the meaning of the song and the idea behind the song. But in general, the Rebbe much liked happier songs. He felt that we live in a generation that needs more excitement and happiness, and he was into, the happy songs. One of the happy Hasidic songs that he used to sing by the Farbrengen. I did it, 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 I am, I am, I did it, 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 I am, I am. Ay, 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 did it, ay, am, ay, am, ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 did it up. Ay, am, ay, am, ay, 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 did it up. Hi, did it up, da did it up, da did it up, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 did it, ay, 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 did it up. Ay, 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 ay. Hey, bam, da 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 da, ay, 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 da da da, hey, ay, da da da, 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 yeah. Hey, ay, da da da, yeah, yeah, da da da, yeah, my, da da da, yeah, my, yeah, yeah, my, yeah, 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 my, yeah, 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 da, my, yeah, my, yeah. Hi, da da da, my, yeah, yeah, yeah. Ay, 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 da, ay, 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 ma. Masada. Ay, da, ma, give it. Da, ya, ay, 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 ma, da, ya. Ay, 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 da, ma, ya, ma, ya, ma, ya, ya, da, ma, ya, 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 ma, a Tuesday night, a sample from a Tuesday night young professional class.
A sample. L'chaim, everybody. Really, really nice to be here with everybody on this very, very special occasion. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Chaim Livracha.
So what's amazing about everything that's been discussed, what's amazing about Torah and Judaism in general, and what really puts a big emphasis on the truth, is that the Torah and the history is so intentional. The numbers, the stories, the generations of families and people, and as mentioned by Rabbi Farkash in regards to Shvat,
It's me.
what seven is truly a special number. I mean, 7 days of the week, and Shabbos is the seventh day that we know really manifests the rest of the week. And we know that we have the Shemitah year, which is after 6 years you work the land. The seventh is a year which you leave it alone. You have the seventh month is Tishrei, the month of high holidays. And
And Levi is the first of 7 children.
I'm the first of 7 children of the Farkash family. The number 7 is truly a number of cycle. And with that is a number of intention. Like anyone could have asked why we mentioned this whole idea of, 7 sins that remove the Shekhinah, that remove the divine presence from this world, and 7 rabbis, 7 holy ones that brought it back. Could have been 9, could have been 11. This parallel, this message of the number 7 is extremely intentional, and the Rebbe really explains about how kind of where this number 7 really kind of climaxes, and that is the 7th generation, which that is our generation. And the Rebbe really hints and alludes that in the of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, there were 7 rabbis, right? 7 rabbis, starting from the Alter Rebbe, the founder of the Tanya, and culminating in the Rebbe that we have the 7th Rebbe that came to New York and it became Rebbe in 1951 on this day, that really kind of brought the energy and soul of Chabad to revive, right? A rejuvenation, as we say, especially post World War II, which today is Holocaust Remembrance Day. And what's very, very interesting is that we know that, and as discussed, that the 7th and the 1st, they are harmonious. They have a similarity. They kind of complete one another. But the first one started, the 7th one completes. And when you look at the Chabad Lubavitch movement, and this is obviously, echoed in all the different cycles of 7 that we see throughout. Just the basics is Sunday we start work, and Shabbos we finish work. You have to go through that cycle of the week to get to that feeling, that geschmack, to say, now I'm here, Shabbos, look what I've accomplished throughout the week, and now I really feel that I'm in the moment. If Shabbos was on a Tuesday, you wouldn't have that buildup of day 1 that brought you to day 7. And again, that cycle repeats in a million different ways in Judaism, which is so amazing. But as it pertains to the Chabad Lubavitch movement, you have the Alter Rebbe, the founder of, I wouldn't say the founder of worldwide Chassidus, that was more the Baal Shem Tov, but the founder of the Chassidic movement. And at the time, in 1776, when he founded the movement and created the Tanya and authored the Tanya, the world wasn't yet ready for an explosion of the likes that we've seen 7 Rebbes later. To have this complete revolution and change that the world experienced in 1951, it was like having Shabbos on a Monday. It wasn't yet ready, we could say. But as you go through the cycle and you see the message of every Rebbe and the development of the Chabad Chassidic philosophy and the development of the community and the development of the world that really became, through Torah, the opportunity to really take interest and to really see what the Chabad Chassidic philosophy is all about, then finally you could have that number 7, which was led by the Rebbe starting in 1951 on this day, to say, all right, the world is ready to have that completion of 1 through 7. So when we're here and we're in the 7th generation, and this is the generation of Mashiach, as mentioned before, we have to really take serious this idea that there's no 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, and there never was. Judaism and the number 7 are very, very unique. It's purposeful. This is where it manifests. If it doesn't manifest here, God forbid, we start bouncing back up. 6, 5, 4, 3. Right? This is where it is. It's here. We're the 7th generation. We're the number 7. And this is where it's all going to come to fruition. And as the Alter Rebbe always used to say, that we have to live with the week. We have to live with the week of the times, right? So everyone comes here. Well, on Tuesdays, we have the young professionals for the Torah class and the Tanya class for the Eslishevitz. On Wednesdays, they come to learn Torah for the message of the week, for the Torah of the week on Wednesdays. And what's interesting about Torah is that this is actually a theme for the young professionals this year, is we, after Sydney on the first night of Hanukkah, the message was to really embody what the Rebbe's message was, and that was to be a lamplighter, right? Now, can you be a lamplighter if you don't have the light? You can't. Back in the olden days, if you were to go light the lamps of the street, and you didn't have the candle, you didn't have the fire, you could be the lamplighter from today till tomorrow. The lights are not getting lit. So, right? You have to have your own fire or your own tools or methods of flame in order to ignite the other lamps. And so the same thing, as we said, is really in this generation. We're trying to embody this message of 7, embody this message of bringing Mashiach. And the question is, we have to really, instead of trying to, get overwhelmed with our abilities to give others, which we'll get to in a second, is first we have to make sure that we're carrying the light. And so the question that kept getting asked and thrown around, it was Hanukkah, is, well, how do I know if I'm embodying the light? Like, what do I do? Do I sit in a dark room and see if it glows? Like, what's the barometer? How do I judge? Right? How do we judge? How do I know if I got the light or not? I think I got the light. I pray. I go to synagogue. I do good deeds. I give charity. But, sometimes maybe we're not necessarily confident on do we have the light. And sometimes we don't know if we have the light to share. And so the answer that we came up with, and really this is kind of been the theme of this year, is if you really want to know if you have the light, and the definition of light is now once you have it, you're able to share it, it's all about learning. The message of the generation is the same message that's been through all the generations, from the beginning to the end, from when we got the Torah on Mount Sinai all the way till now, is if you really want to know if you're a possessor of the light and now you're able to give the light, it's all about learning the Torah. Why? Because when you learn the Torah, you are for sure acquiring a certain enlightenment, a certain knowledge, a certain embodiment of the divine, that now all you have to do is walk into a room and you're by default changed of who you are, and your interactions are completely changed. And the way you're affecting people, you don't have to judge now. Did I give enough charity to become a giver of the light? Or did I, pray within myself enough to be able to change myself, whether it is withholding, as we discussed, of iskafia or isapcha, of changing over. You start getting all lost about where am I holding and possessing certain amounts of light for which to give. It doesn't have to be that confusing. It's really learning Torah, gaining the knowledge, gaining the divine wisdom, and you'll know as you're learning and gaining that you have what it takes to give it over, whether it's intentionally or not. You're a walking, talking, glowing piece of godliness because you have the Torah inside you. So I think sitting here about a combination of all the different classes that go through on the week, embodying the message of 7, right? Talking about sports, right? There's a famous question that someone asked the Rabbi that, or a blessing was for the Yankees, I believe. And the Rabbi made a comment that, not everyone is suited to play professional baseball, but we're all suited to play the game of life. We're all born into the game of life, so we're all suited to play the game. And the question is, if you're suited to play the game, do you want to be the one playing the game, or do you want to be the one watching the game? And I think that when it comes to the game of life, we definitely all want to be the one playing the game. We don't want to watch as the game goes by, realizing a little too late, God forbid, that we were watching it go along this whole time without realizing that we have what it takes to play. So my l'chaim to everyone is sitting here on a Shvat gathering, embodying the message of 7, embodying the message of Torah, a collection of all the individuals that really make an effort to come every single week to really study and learn and embody, that we all have to remind.
Week that the players actually won.
And a player, they actually won, right? We have the momentum and we're going to take it. So l'chaim, this special group, and l'chaim to the Rabbi that manifested this idea of 7 and giving us the encouragement and the philosophy and the strength and the courage and everything that this generation needs to carry that message on until the ultimate redemption of Mashiach. L'chaim.
The Rebbe used to say that the saying of the Alter Rebbe, that what a Hasidic Verbringen, which we are doing right now, can accomplish, even the angel Michael cannot. Meaning the power of unity that goes through to a Verbringen. I remember the Rebbe explaining it, that angel Michael is one angel among many, but a Verbringen is not one. A Verbringen is a unified force, and that's stronger than any angel. So I want to take this opportunity. We have among those who are sitting here tonight, a few which need a special blessing for refuah shleima, speedy recovery. So I will mention the daughter, what's the daughter-in-law's name? Galit. But what was the mother's name? Gloria. Galit but Gloria. Hashem should give her a refuah shleima. And a special blessing for Daron and Karen. Hashem should bless him also with a full speedy recovery in our refuah shleima. And anybody also needs to be included in our refuah shleima. And brachas, and also need brachas in parnasa, in sustenance, also needs brachas in shidduchim. We should all find in this holy day, which is also the yahrzeit of the previous Rebbe. As the Rebbe always says, that the yahrzeit of a tzaddik, all which he had accomplished during his life, is all coming together and recharging the world with the energy they created through the good deeds, and through that bringing brachas and Yeshua's blessing and salvation for the world, and especially those who are close to them. And everybody who sits in this room, which is a room which is definitely built in the inspiration and the blessing of the Rebbe's. By the way, I don't know how many remember, but we had entered this building on the weekend of the 10th of Shvat, 13 years ago. That was the whole celebration and occasion. There was the weekend of the 10th of Shvat that we dedicated that time to, and we finally were able to get the papers and everything through. So this is a special bar mitzvah year for all of us. I'm not charging you double, Karen. It's okay. But it's all part of the same discussion that we are sitting here. So the bracha should continue. This place, the old Torah Center, should continue to see brachas. Baruch Hashem, we are very blessed in everything, but we can always use more, and the blessing should be utilized only for goodness and happiness. Those who are using the mikveh, I know they were worried about it was broken for a while. Finally, yesterday also, just as we were ushering in the 10th of Shvat, we finally got a new heater, which took a long time to get, and the companies were making trouble, but finally the mikveh is warmed up again, and Yud Shvat is a great day, a special day, l'chaim. You know, I was sitting with Rabbi Eslishevitz boys. They were having their birthday last Shabbat. So they invited me to their birthday party on Saturday night for a few minutes only. I mean, they invited me to sit longer, but it was the same night. It was a yard site for Abelevit's mother, so I had to go to the yard site. So I sat with them a few minutes and wanted to speak about stories. Everybody likes to hear a story about the Rebbe. You know, there are so many good stories. So people want to know the stories. Many of you already heard the story from me, but I'm going to tell you the story that I shared with the Eslishevitz boys and their school friends who came for a pizza party last Saturday night in honor of their birthday. The story which I heard from the person that the story happened with him, a Jew from Toronto, with the name of Rabbi, today is a big rabbi in Israel, leads a yeshiva with the name of Bumi Friedland, who is originally from Toronto, born in Toronto. His father was from Poland, and he was born, actually, his birthday was also 2 weeks ago, just turned 79, actually just turned 80 2 weeks ago. I heard the story from him a couple of years ago, and I was very amazed by the story, and I shared it. And those who heard it are going to hear it again, and those who didn't hear it are going to... Many people ask, so what is a Rebbe? Talk about the Rebbe, what is a Rebbe? You talk about the Rebbe being like a type of shepherd, like a Moses, who cares for his people. I mean, the very fact, you know, who cared whether there's a synagogue in Bellevue or not? The Rebbe, he sent shluchim to Bellevue or to Seattle or to Alaska or to anywhere else. Somebody cares for the Jews. You know he's a Rebbe. If he doesn't care for the Jews, he's not a Rebbe. Might be a very good Jew. He's not a Rebbe. He's not a Rebbe. He might even be a tzaddik. But a Rebbe, he's like Moses cares for his people. He stands up by God and he's demanding and he's asking and he's looking for water and he's looking for the manna later. And there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to be reading about Moses. So one of the stories, a very nice story that I heard from this Rabbi Bumi. Basically, he was a young boy. He wasn't a Chabad. He wasn't born to Chabad family. And he was joining a youth group in Toronto, which is similar, like we have CT over here. So they had a Bnei Akiva youth group. And their teacher at that youth group was communicating to them in, I guess, speaking about Moses from the Parsha. So somebody asked, is there a Moses in our generation? One of the kids asked. But the teacher wasn't necessarily a Chabad chassid. It said, yes, we actually have a Moses. You can even write him letters. He's going to write you back. Here's his address, 770 Eastern Parkway, Brooklyn, New York, 101213, Rabbi Schneerson. He's the Moses. Okay? Kids, hear it. Exciting to know that there is also a Moses in our generation. Fast forward a short time later, when this Bumi, the young teenager in the youth group, who was putting his tefillin in the locker. They all had little lockers which they kept their stuff. comes back to his locker to pick up his tefillin, and lo and behold, his tefillin is not there. His tefillin was taken. Can you imagine how upset is it to lose your tefillin? First of all, tefillin is expensive, and his father, I knew his father also. He's not a type of father that you want to come home and tell him you lost your tefillin. This is not going to go by very easy with any father, but with that father in particular, all of a shalom. May he rest in peace. And in general, the tefillin you got bar mitzvah with, you're wearing it every day. This is something which you are meant to keep for the rest of your life. I remember when I lost my tefillin on the way to Argentina once, my bar mitzvah tefillin. And I could not forgive myself. I kept on looking for it. I sent the plane, landed in Atlanta where I lost it. My brother Levi's wife's family is in Atlanta. I kept on sending them to the warehouse of the Atlanta airport. Delta, try, look, million of suitcases if you can identify. I never found it yet, and to be honest, I never gave up on it yet. But I did have to buy a new pair of tefillin. My father didn't buy it for me. But either way, he lost his tefillin. Meaning somebody went into his locker and took away his tefillin. And he, feeling so bad, he decided, you know what, I remember that guide, our counselor, Rabbi Greenberg, Akiva, told us that there's a Moses in 770. I'm going to write a letter to Moses. Maybe he can help me. So he wrote a letter to the Rebbe that my name is so-and-so. I had my tefillin in the locker, and my tefillin was taken from me, and I'm very upset, and what can the Rebbe help? And lo and behold, he gets a letter back. He told me the story. And you think a letter back, the Rebbe is going to write them, encouraging word, maybe send them a few dollars to help him buy a new pair of tefillin. No. It says me, I got a letter from the Rebbe. This is a young boy, a teenage boy. The Rebbe writes him, the fact that you mentioned that somebody stole your tefillin, so you probably know that according to Jewish law, if a Jew is putting on stolen tefillin, he's not fulfilling the mitzvah. I will ask if you could please forgive the person who stole it, so when he puts it on, he at least fulfills the mitzvah of tefillin. And then he gave him some blessings and wishes to get back to his life. And I remember hearing the story till today. It's like mind-boggling that what is the Rebbe's first concern like about stolen tefillin? The fact that somebody stole the tefillin, that's not the Rebbe's problem. That's between the Ganev and God. They're gonna have to figure it out. The fact that the boy lost his tefillin, the Rebbe, I'm sure, gave him some encouraging words, and he told me he did. But from a Rebbe's perspective, when you put on the glasses of a Moses, what do also you think about? And what is the first thing you think about? If somebody stole that, it's not, I guess there was no eBay then, so he's not selling it on eBay. He's looking to use it. He's perhaps going to use it. The Rebbe assumes that Jew is going to use his tefillin. So if he's going to use it, but it's going to be kind of worthless, stolen tefillin, what is God going to, how can God have joy with you using tefillin that you stole? But the Rebbe is asking the kid who is complaining about the stolen tefillin to sincerely forgive the Ganav, the thief. So when he puts on tefillin, he should be able to fulfill the mitzvah properly. That's an outlook. This is kind of, in a sense, also we spoke earlier, kind of foolish respond. Why should the thief have right feel? Maybe, as they say in good English, the heck with him. Let him put on tefillin, not fulfill the mitzvah, and get the message that next time you want to put on tefillin, you don't steal. No. There's a different look here, a whole different perspective. That's a story, one of the many stories that we keep on hearing and sharing and studying and being inspired by. L'chaim. Ya mama I lie, 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 da 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 da. I la 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 la. Give us the time to Ali. Living. I give a cookie or something. I am It's working. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Ma 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 ma. Ma 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 ma. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Ya ma ma ya ma ma ma. Maybe somebody wants to share something that he heard or he's inspired or learned about Shvat, the Rebbe, the Frierdiker Rebbe. He can tell you something. You don't have to be official rabbi. We all belong to the same Rebbe. Anybody?
I heard not only you had mentioned the previous rabbi passing away,
Remember?
but that same, as within that week, was the yahrzeit of his mother and his grandmother.
That's right. Actually, that discourse called, you said before, which starts on the verse Bati Legani, was a discourse that the previous Rebbe had recited 1924, and he prepared that because he couldn't talk clearly anymore in 1950 because he was paralyzed, had a stroke. So he prepared that discourse to be published for that Shabbat. So it was brought from the printer on Friday, because that Shabbat, 1950, which was the 10th of Shvat, was the yahrzeit of his grandmother. His father's mother, his name was Rebbetzin Rivka. She was the wife of the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Reb Shmuel, Rebbe Maharash. She was a very special woman in many ways, but also her son, which was the fifth Rebbe, Reb Shalom Dovber, instituted the yeshiva called Tomchet Mimim, the formal yeshiva in Lubavitch, which was instituted in 1897, and when it was instituted, there was yeshiva students, and yeshiva students need assistance. Every student is assistants, starving students, right? You know this moving company called Starving Students. Students are always hungry for something. It's actually in this week's Parsha they talk about it. Parsha talks about the manna. That one of the challenges that Moses gave the Jews that they should not keep refrigerated food, which means you wake up in the morning and you're going to sleep with an empty fridge. You know what it feels is to go to sleep with an empty fridge? Not good. You're hungry, even though you just ate dinner. But the fact that the fridge is empty and you can't get up in the middle of the night or next morning to know that something else is waiting for you, so you're hungry. That's why yeshiva students are always hungry, because they have to rely on the kitchen in the yeshiva. And the yeshiva kitchen has very big locks that they close after supper. And then you don't know them tomorrow. I mean, you hope, you trust that they're going to feed you, but maybe yes, maybe not. So they're always hungry. I remember when I came to Montreal, 1985, there was, we ate supper regularly, 7 o'clock, and I thought it was a nice supper. I came from Jerusalem. So for me, I thought it was a lavish supper, but the American boys did not think much about it, but they all ate supper. And usually we used to continue studying after supper for another hour and a half till 9:15. And there was a Jew by the name of Simcha Zirkin, the blessed memory. And he, from time to time, used to go to the bakery and to bring the kosher bakery and to bring the leftover danishes before he closes the shop, to bring it to the yeshiva. And he brought in the danishes to the yeshiva at 9:15. And the way we attacked those danishes, as if we did not eat for weeks or months, just ate supper. But whatever comes to your hand, now I have it. You don't know tomorrow. And God told the Jewish people in the desert, I want you to trust me that I'm going to provide you with food tomorrow. And that was a big test. Not everybody kept it. I'm going to read in this week's Parsha. Some people felt it's too much to ask. And they did store some of it, and it became rotten, etc. But the idea is to be fed every day is a big thing. How did I get to it? What was I saying before? I wasn't speaking about food in Montreal. What was I saying?
The Frederick Rabbi established their yeshiva.
Oh, established a yeshiva. And the yeshiva students started roaming around Lubavitch, and somebody had to look after them. There were also many poor people, kids who came to study, and it was the Rebbe's mother, the fifth Rebbe's mother, this Rebbe's Rivka, who your site is also today, the 10th of Shvat. She was called like the mama of the students. Like, she literally was very involved in their lives and looking after them and caring for them. Yes, so that's when originally this code was going to be printed in honor of his grandmother. And then when he passed away, that became the so-called the William Testament of the Rebbe himself. And every year on the 10th of Shvat, the Rebbe used that original text came out in 20 paragraphs. And every single year, the Rebbe explained and spoke a long time about one of the paragraphs. 1970, 20 years passed, he started a new circle going back to the beginning and again explaining a paragraph every year. And people are studying it, and it's printed, and many of it you can even listen to. If you understand Yiddish or you want to hear it, it's on the audio, it's everywhere. Yeah, that's the story. L'chaim, l'chaim. You have a story?
Yeah, I'm sure that you all heard that the final hostage.
Oh, that's right.
Was found, was brought back home, and
Laila Tov. I spoke about starving students, and you're going.
Brought up unpleasant memories. Maybe you want to eat. Maybe the thing is waiting for it.
so I'm just thinking a few thoughts that I had about the final hostage coming home, a few different angles. But one is that personally, when I saw that some people started wearing a necklace to remember the hostages, or a ribbon, dog tag and ribbon, and so they're going to take it off when all the hostages come in. And when we heard that all the living hostages were brought home, but there were some that we know that they were killed, but they weren't brought home. And some people continued to wear the ribbon or the dog tag and said, it's possible that they'll never find the remains of a hostage. There's a hostage in Syria that still never came home after the war, many decades later. And there were many that kept the faith and the hopes to the extent of doing something in an outwardly way, saying we trust and we believe that every last hostage, including the ones that were already killed, will be found and they'll be all brought home. And to our relief that it actually happened, and the last hostage that remained in Gaza was brought home. And what personally I'd say, I should be honest, I was a little one of the more skeptical ones. Say, I hope and I pray that everyone comes home, but to the extent that I'll wear something that until they come home, it could be who knows how long that it could take, and what's the guarantee that they'll ever find him? Even if Hamas wants to, it could be that they're lost. And one of the things that the Rabbi believed in really strongly, and not too many people were like him to believe it, that every Jew will come home. I mean, compared to hostages, but not hostages, but captives, and being in exile. They're lost and scattered throughout the world. And most normal people say, we hope to save some of the Jewish people from assimilation, from persecution. We'll be satisfied if we get a lot of them back home. But really care about every last one and to not be satisfied until you get every last one is something which most normal people said, your goals are unreasonable. It's not to go and catch every Jew and not to let any Jew get lost. It's crazy to have such high goals and high hopes. And the Rebbe really believed that it will happen and that we'll make it happen. They're not going to be satisfied with anything less. And the Medrash says about the shepherds, what was inspiring to God when he sees that a shepherd goes and runs after even one lost sheep. That's a sign that he's that he really cares and that he's fit to be a leader. So that's something that obviously we all know about the Rebbe. How the Rebbe considered every Jew physically in a remote place, spiritually in a remote place, and didn't give up on anyone. And in 1951, nobody could have imagined that in Seattle, never mind in Bellevue, and even further places like Spokane, and that's the Rebbe's vision of not letting any Jew get lost, and even further to have that the 7 Noahide laws that every human being in the world will be able to be be educated and keep the 7 mitzvahs that all people have. That's a unreasonable, you might even call it a foolish way of thinking, not rational. And but that's what the Rebbe, what the Rebbe's vision was for our generation. And together with that, the coming of Mashiach and the Geula, which most of Jews, we pray for it 3 times a day, and we hope that it will happen, but to realistically, really kind of, believe that it's really going to happen. Not just we want it to happen and we believe it will eventually happen, but it's really something that's tangible, and that's, that every last hostage will come home is something which the Rebbe encouraged us to really go and take that leap and really trust that it will happen, and we'll do everything we can to make it a reality. L'chaim.
There was another solution to finding the lost hostage, to make him be buried in Israel. Take over Gaza and make it part of Israel.
Sure. I'll see you later. Later.
This is a better way, but that option still stands.
Listen, if you want to go to the better way could have been that it wouldn't be October 7th altogether. There is a lot of better ways. Today is to see what they did. It was very doesn't know me since October 7th, know that I barely watched, I almost did not watch any videos related to October 7th, not to the October 7th massacre, for sure not, but not even operations from Army. For some reason, I was almost not watching anything. My only television part that I saw of destruction of a kibbutz was sitting with of blessed memory Arnold Mannering after October 7, a few weeks later in the hospital in Overlake. So I was watching CNN, and I was able to see something, and that only further convinced me not to watch anything. But this morning I opened a little on the news. Not even on any carrying the hostage, his body, and they're reciting verses of Psalms like at a funeral, Shir Lamalis, Esayin Arayori. And then I'm reading that they sifted 700, maybe, or 800 bodies. No, 250 was it? 250. I think I saw more.
Well, in the final cemetery, they were searching in other places too. But
Right.
in the final cemetery, they went through 250 bodies.
Probably they went through a bunch of bodies before. I guess maybe it counted all the bodies they went through, and to see that this is the commitment of a Jew to another Jew. Forget about bringing him alive and saving his life and protecting his life. Someone who is dead. I mean, bring him from one part of earth to be replaced and deposited in another part of the earth with such commitment, with such self-sacrifice, with such love. Yeah. Real Am Yisrael. No one. That's our strength. That's our energy. No one. The enemies don't understand it. They don't know what they're playing against. No, we should utilize it with joy and celebration.
This is not the first one. They show a lot of these videos of the soldiers celebrating like crazy. What would seem like a minor victory or minor accomplishment, and so many of them are putting tefillin on first time, or
Thank you.
No class tomorrow night.
Bringing somebody home. So you bringing somebody home.
Good night. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, like Rabbi said, most people don't fully get that, but when you look at it, it's like the soldiers weren't that religious before October 7th. They were not that crazy about it. Now that is a huge part of their mission.